2 gives us an equation. In this case, it's y equals 1 over x. And they want us to answer 4 questions. What is the domain? What's the range? Can we identify any decreasing intervals? And can we identify any increasing? And just as a quick reminder here, it's like your age. What's the only number you can add to your age and it doesn't change the value of your age? What's the only number? 0. If adding 1 to your age changes your age, adding 0 does not. So we can add 0 to the bottom and we can add 0 to the back. In this form where there is no variable on top, we can see that we have a vertical asymptote at 0 and we have a horizontal asymptote at 0 as well. Okay, horizontal and vertical. Now, what does this graph look like? They're not asking us to graph it, so we can do a pretty rough graph here, which means we don't have to pick out points. Go to y equals, I'm typing in the equation it provided, which is 1 divided by x, and I'm looking at the graph. Okay, so I can see it's in what I'm going to call to is a room up here and kitty corner this room down here. So I'm going to graph that. It looks like this. It's not asking us to graph it. I'm just going to do it so it's helpful for me to answer the questions. So what is the domain? So it comes from the far left and continues to move right until it hits the first wall. Okay, what is this wall? What is the number? And I'm using the wrong term. It doesn't hit it, it approaches it. Okay, jumps over, starts again on the other side of 0, and it continues to move to the right. The range, it comes up from the bottom, so it comes up from negative infinity. And it continues to move upward until it approaches what value? 0. Jumps over and starts again from 0 to positive infinity. Now, picture yourself jogging, okay? You're jogging, and whenever we do decreasing or increasing intervals, you have to think of it from left to right. So left to right, picture this as you. Okay, are you going uphill or downhill from left to right? From left to right, you're going downhill, which we would refer to as decreasing. Okay, what about this one? From left to right, what are you doing? From left to right, what would you be doing? Are you going uphill or downhill as you run? Decreasing again. So if they asked you, what is the increasing intervals? There is none for this particular graph. And there happens to be 2 intervals that are decreasing. And increasing and decreasing, always do it in terms of x's. So it comes from negative infinity, and it continues to decrease until it approaches what x value? Okay, and the other one starts on the other side of 0, and it continues to decrease as it moves to the far right. Okay, let's look at another problem. Same concept. Let's write down y equals negative 1 over x squared. Same concept, and I'm going to clear my graph. Okay, again, what's the only number you can add to your age as an example, and it never changes your age? So I can add 0 to the bottom and 0 to the back. All right, so that tells me that my vertical asymptote is at 0, and my horizontal asymptote is also at 0. Now I'm going to do the rough graph here. So I'm going to do in parentheses negative 1. As a reminder, when you have a negative sign that's at the same level as your division bar, we can push it up to the top. That's why I have a negative 1. Divided by parenthesis x squared. I have the eyes open or standing back. Okay, graph it. So I can see this time they're both going down. It's just a rough graph here. Domain, is there any limit how far it goes to the left? Okay, and it continues to go from left to right. It continues to move to the right until it gets to an x value of 0, jumps over, and then it goes from 0 to positive infinity. Range is a little more difficult. Range is a little more difficult. It comes up from the bottom, and it continues to move upward until it approaches what value? Does it ever touch it? Okay, think of yourself as jogging again. Okay, think of yourself as jogging. So from left to right, are you going uphill or downhill here? Downhill, so this is decreasing. Okay, what about this one from left to right? Increasing. So what is the increasing interval? It's this one. But how do I write it? Okay, well, what x value does it start at? Well, it starts after 0, and in terms of x's, it's no limit how far it moves to the right. Decreasing interval, in terms of x's, it comes from the far left, and it continues to decrease as it approaches what x value? Moving on to the next problem.